Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dietitian Life, where we tell you about our 4 weeks. And I'm going to force Peter to start today.
Always. All right. So this week has been a bit stressful for me. Had a bit of a plow down, a bit stressed out in relation to me not getting things done, time frames, all the above. You don't get a lot done when you're stressing, less efficient. But so had some really good wins this week with meetings. Managed to, at this stage, get some more work across the line for Sunshine Coast Dietetics, which would be good, at a private hospital.
Close.
Yeah, well, I just hit her up again to say, why haven't you emailed me back yet? Did you receive my email? Persistence counts, right? Pays off eventually.
How many times did you contact them before you got the meeting?
Probably in excess of 20 phone calls, but not all of them were answered, so that's okay. And maybe about 5, 6, 7 messages left on the phone. And then I finally got a phone call back, and then a rescheduled meeting once to a new date. So persistence.
What did you cover in the meeting?
So we had the nurse unit manager there, we had the allied health manager, the CEO, and the catering manager. So I guess we touched on who I am, what I do, my history, my background. So pretty much just trying to build me up as being amazing. So that's part of it. And then we talked about what they want. So what they want from me and what they want from the company. So they were interested in menu reviews. I was pushing for more clinical stuff. And they also talked about potentially doing presentations. So I made sure I guided that conversation around ongoing and what they might look like. And then we also talked about some things in the way that they're doing things that could be better. So we talked about some of their protocols and procedures for weighing, what to do with X, Y, and Z if someone comes in, and when to refer. And then obviously we talked about money very briefly. And then that was part of my follow-up email as well, is to set out some amounts to hopefully get it over the line.
Did they give you any amounts in the meeting?
No, I kind of asked her, does she have a budget? And she said yes and smiled. And I said, look, at the end of the day, I want to get it over the line, so happy to meet you in the middle. But she wanted me to put some numbers on paper before she agrees to anything. So I understand that she's quite busy, so I'm doubtful to hear back from her this week, given the communication. However, another email might get it over the line. So yeah, I don't think she was going to say no. I think it would be all right without this if it was to be something versus absolutely not.
I wish they gave us a number. Then we can go as close to that as we can.
Yeah, I know it's always hard when you're trying to do these types of things. And conversations about money, I think as a dietitian, certainly in business in general, is a really hard conversation to have. Like, how much am I worth? Like, how much is my time worth? But then for us, it's more about not so much about the time, but how much is the business worth for us to be there, for us to do things, blah, blah, blah. But then it's also about, we want the work, but we're also not prepared to then
we're not going to lose
paid.
Money.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, well, we want to do it, but we can't lose money because we'll go out of business.
Yeah, and this sort of stuff, this is obviously contracting to a different, it's not just one-on-one client base. So when you're talking about your fees and your fee schedule and your worth in that respect, and if you're not a big business, you don't have a lot of outgoings, then maybe it's easier. But even still, like, you're setting the precedent for other dietitians and anybody else. That's obviously what you're worth, and there's been lots of conversations about that. I think, previous to the thread stuff, there was always a lot of conversations around money. And I remember,
so annoying.
Yeah, I think not Tim Crow, but the other guy, Peter, what's his name?
Collins.
No, he was another kind of really funny guy who always used to present TA conferences anyway, and he.
Glenn Cardwell.
Yeah, him. Yeah, and he actually jumped on there and say, right, this is how much I charge.
Yeah, it's just like it shouldn't be less than $300
Yeah,
for
and people
a
are like,
presentation. It's like, why you pay $300? Just because every dietitian undervalues themselves, which undervalues the whole industry, and we all end up broke. Pretty much is the problem with that industry. Because everyone wants work and they think, oh, I'll just go cheaper. And then when you're starting your own business, you don't have the overheads. Then you go, all right, pay me $40 an hour. It's just like, you would have got paid more as an employee of their organization. Like, you need to account for your expenses, and you're not when you say, oh, $40 an hour is mint. It's just like, yeah, but you probably need another $20 an hour to cover all the expenses for the year. So it's just like, and then it's even more when it's a company where we have the boss expenses and then we have the rest. So it's just.
And the other thing is around value and worth. So if you say that you're worth this much, then you obviously need to demonstrate that you are worth that much as well, which obviously is quite.
Don't go to $300 an hour to do consulting unless you're ridiculous and you can get through a buttload of work in that time. And I guess that's the difference if someone's a new grad and they're saying, oh, I'm $50 an hour. Just like, yeah, but you see one, maybe client an hour, whereas I might be able to see 3 or 4 an hour. So, but it's hard unless you are advocating for that and you're actually having that communication for them to understand. So that's a skill that I think most dietitians, not many, but most dietitians lack.
Yeah,
which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
we'll try.
Pretty much, I can guarantee.
Yeah,
I can pretty much guarantee that I will do exactly what I promised to do. That's why you can charge X amount. That's why he's worth a buttload to obviously have someone come and see him. Time as well, but
results. It's results at the end of the day.
So with that comes pressure, and if you're not prepared for the pressure, then maybe you need to reduce the prices or learn more, take more time, go and shadow more, etc. So I guess that's one big thing for the week. Another thing, putting together a presentation that we presented to a big facility that we're hoping to work closely with in NDIS space, and that so far has gone quite good. Got another one next week, and hopefully our boss manager in Vic is nailing it, going to nail it even further, and we get that one over the line as well too, because they're a national company. So
that's good. Peter did the content, I did all the formatting.
He just changed the background and edited it slightly.
There was so much to edit. And so it's just like, who's this to? And you're like, oh, to the organisation. Like, well, this is to a client, so I need to change everything.
Yeah, I know. That was my meltdown stress day.
Yeah.
I was just having a moment. The pressure gets up to me sometimes. And and also my own personal business in Pogga has always challenges. But it's in a fine space at the moment, and coming into the end of the financial year for me is a bit of a worry, because then I actually have to not ignore the fact that probably not making a great deal of money, but it's also not going under, so that's a win. It's not going backwards. So
I did a lot of account stuff this week with the end of financial year, and we just got a new person doing accounts, so I'm kind of rolling with a lot of the stuff. I've made a couple of mistakes doing that, which isn't the best, but mistakes can be undone, so that's been happening. But that's taking up a lot of my time, making it very difficult to do other stuff. I guess at the size that we are, it is hard to continue to do everything, whereas when I was 6 or 7 people, I could do absolutely everything in the background and in the front and be fine. But long hours still, but it's too much now. Too much to do it all myself, which is why I hire people. Dealing with trolls. So on social media, on Sunshine Coast Dietetics page in particular, we're doing some stuff on the dangers of the keto diet. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. There's a couple of people having a good little, go at it, using their emotions to force their debate, which is interesting, often passive aggressively, but I guess the jury's out in terms of how to deal with trolls all the time. A lot of people say ignore it, it's not worth your time, and it's not. But at the same time, when that's sitting on your page and they're calling you out, it's hard to not. Like, I could just delete it, but then that brings even more stuff, and I'd rather be open and honest and have a discussion and see if I can make them understand. one of two probably did. But it took so much time to do it, even though it was all in my head. They wanted articles and all of that, and then I was just like, started to look for articles. I'm like, screw this, I'm not doing this. I don't have to, you're not paying me for this, so no. And then I had another idea. I'm like, why don't we start a business where we pay, like we charge people to come and learn about a certain thing. It's pretty much what we do, but I'm just telling everyone the idea, but I think that's kind of, I thought of it yesterday. I was just like, well, I need to be paid for this. So, an idea. What else? Oh yeah, why I'm a better dietitian. So, what I wanted to say was about that emotion stuff. I'm not a better dietitian than you. You're a better dietitian. You're a better dietitian. She knows.
I'm sorry remembering that. Where's my recorder?
I say it all the time.
Can I get that on camera?
I say it all the time. Yeah. Basically, because I have no emotion or opinion whatsoever about food, like I don't care. I think that helps me in terms of being able to help clients from a broader spectrum and not have any judgment in regards to it. A lot of the time, even in our PD, we kind of talked about it this week, whether it's the preconceived judgment that a dietitian might have to someone that's eating certain foods that like you would never eat, like people eating McDonald's. We always talk about McDonald's and KFC and junk food as one of those things. Like, because you're emotional, like, oh no, you shouldn't have that. You know, that's an instant judgment. So I think I implore everyone to have less emotion in regards to food, because then you can actually have a measured approach and work with the client rather than putting, or in, like, what do you call it?
Yeah, pretty much instilling your views.
Yeah, instilling your views in them. Yeah, and like, to some extent you can have the conversation, but it's, I don't know, I think it's wrong. So, yeah, no, I don't know, I'm just having a ramble, but like I was just.
I think you've ultimately got to be an advocate for what you do, and Tyson is an advocate. He actually does enjoy it, but you know, and you eat conservatively, so it's not like we don't have our own ways of doing things, or we think that other people should be eating the similar way, but it's not because that way is bad, or you know, we think that those foods are going to kill them. There's none of that black and white. And I guess with dietitians, we try to be less emotive.
Yeah, and come towards the science angle rather than, because I didn't get into food because I'm into dietetics, so I like food.
And it's also the science, but it's also the underlying other crap that people do not think about, like obviously the social things and all the other aspects of eating. That it's not black and white. It's not just this diet and this diet. It's not just science. It's all right. Well, bigger picture stuff, you know.
Yeah. How do you make you feel the pleasure?
How do you maintain diets? How do you maintain diets socially? How do you stick to this? What about when you have kids? You know, I had clients when they're following ridiculous diets and then they expect either the children to be part of it. What sort of thoughts around food are you going to then be instilling in kids? So for us as dietitians, we're trying to be more, I guess that stupid word, holistic. Trying to think about the entire person and the social aspects, not just
I do hate the word holistic.
Yeah, not just the science.
I used it when I was a new grad, but you quickly learn that holistic is just another word for a naturopath a lot of the time.
Wellness.
Holistic and wellness is, hello, naturopath, red flags. Yeah. But yeah, that's ultimately what it is. Holistic in the form of everything rather than holistic in, I don't know what that was, but. Also, we announced our award winners for the company, so people that have the best client results and the best meal plan. So we just deliberated on that, and then the Managers Award and the Directors Award. So it was a good mix of new grads and established dietitians in the companies, which is really cool. So many great results outside of just anthro stuff. So a lot of quality of life, fitting into clothes that never fit in before. Being at weights that they were when they were like 30, when they're 55, 65 and they put on 25 kilos. So it was pretty awesome to see across the board that most of them had some really freaking ridiculous results. And I've got to keep going back to my notes. I didn't remember what I did.
PD.
Oh yeah, PD last night.
Yeah, last night, which was really good. Probably one of the best at the end, I guess, overall.
And a non-diet approach.
Yeah. And then, Maddie did an awesome job. Yeah. If you saw it all on Instagram.
Or Snap.
My Insta story is better than yours.
Yeah, well, I was going to post something Insta story and then saw you did. So she's going to get angry if I do it.
It's mine. So how does everybody feel about the HAZE approach, the non-diet approach?
Non-diet approach, that's the question we're posing. Yeah, well, feel free to hit us up. But basically, the take-homes from our thing was that we talked about it before, we are not all one thing or another thing. We're not all non-diet approach. We're not all just traditional. It's a good mix to make sure we're getting the results for the client, and that's the most important thing. So using different aspects of non-diet approach.
Identifying that there's particular sorts of people that will suit it and particular sorts that don't. So I've had my mix of clients today, and definitely one of them I did a lot of that conversation around, and she walked out very happy.
Okay, good.
No scale weighing or anything like that. So ultimately you've got to be really picky with who you choose, and certainly expect that the results are probably not going to be as drastic.
And you need to super motivate them towards the little wins that they do get outside of weight. Because if they're constantly, which they will be, constantly focused on their weight and what they look like in their clothes, you're going to struggle if you're following that approach. So you need to think about energy, sleep, general feeling, well-being, mental health. Also signed contract for Mackay. So I'll be looking for someone probably before the end of the year. Looking to hire someone or interviewing someone again on Monday for Ballarat in Victoria. So that's a non-advertised position, but that's how we do things. So for you guys who are watching, who are seeing through these Dietitian Life stuff, hit us up for jobs. Send us your resume, send us your application, tell us where you are and where you want to work. And you never know, we'll most likely interview you, and then may or may not get a position out of it. And you'll beat, the crowd to the punch, given that we're not going to do too much advertising of every single position. Scholarship. So on that end, if you have done the scholarship stuff, seen the scholarship, Dietitian Life, if you're a new grad, not a new grad, a student going into your final year of placement, please apply. There is definitive things that you have to do, but there's a few that have come through already, keen to get more. But yeah, we're pretty excited for that because I think we mentioned it in the Dear Dietitian, which may or may not be released yet, but we talked about how that it's not just going to be the winner. You've got the opportunity to kind of show us what you got, and it's kind of an extended interview of sorts, and we've got a lot of networks in dietetics everywhere, so we could easily connect you with other people if you show us that you're
amazing.
Yeah, pretty much. So we're keen to see all of your faces. Lastly, what did I do? Social media. So doing a lot on social media this week, and behind the scenes with SEO for the websites, that kind of stuff. If you run your own business, it's kind of important, especially now. I've talked about it before that I'm not an attractive blonde female, so it's always harder for me. So I've never been the face of any of it, but
I'm not an attractive blonde female.
So I've never really had the Instagram following or anything like that, and we're a little bit older, so Instagram wasn't at its peak when we were high school and connecting with all those people, so we start a bit behind the 8 ball, but doing what we can do. But I think it's important to at least be out there a little bit, even if you're not doing it so well. It's you might occasionally do a really good one, and it gets connects with people and engages with people, and that's all we're trying to do, really.
I've got some other couple of things. So I did a little bit more shadowing again this week, which is good. Couple of things of note. If you're ever taking over someone else's client, probably I guess we assume that whatever they've been doing is obviously working for them, or we assume that maybe there's, we've got all the information about them, and so, sometimes we might think that we don't need to get to know the client or anything like that. So I guess when we are taking over someone else's client, really, really important to probably just start from the ground and build your way up that way, particularly when it comes to relationships, what they've previously eaten, what they've previously done, all the above. Really, really helps to make sure that the information you're providing to them is of value and obviously is different. And just lets them know that you care and you want to get to know them a little bit more. And I certainly think that maybe that changes their results.
Yeah, because you're starting a relationship.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and
you
it's
don't
really,
have the relationship
it's really hard. It's
like,
really hard to take over someone
because they
client.
expect to be worked the same way the other dietitian was.
Mm.
And then when you come in and you do something completely different, they're going to be like, oh. So it's really important to build that rapport really early. And everyone says they're really great at building rapport, but it's not the case.
Mm.
So
you can have good relationships with people, but it's about navigating their personalities. And we've said it so much, but it's all the time.
Yeah.
And not everybody is going to be a yes person. And that pushback is pushback for a lot of different reasons. And I guess you've got to kind of point where you understand what you can say, what you can do, what you can't do, and what you can, and just being aware of that. And when I shadow and when Tyson shadows, I guess we kind of step back and we kind of think and look to see what's going on in the background, see what their reactions are to certain things that are said, and then use that as
because most of the content, so your content's usually on point.
Yeah.
For just about everyone in the clinical, it's just the man management or the patient management, which is the issue. So it's just the personality, it's the body mannerisms, it's the little things that they say that you in a certain tone or a certain phrasing, that if you don't pick up on it, then you miss out.
And I think it
takes time.
Yeah, I used to do it a lot, where I would actually listen to myself and record myself doing things or saying things, because it's terrible sometimes, and it literally makes no sense. So we have the opportunity to sit there, and the client's sitting there and listening to, and I bet you they're only picking up maybe a couple of different things. So practice explaining things and talking people through things, because it actually is important that it goes from A to B relatively stepwise, because it does this a lot. So when you're talking about, or you're doing a diet disease relationship, or you're trying to talk to them about a protocol or what you want, make sure it actually flows and it makes sense. And exactly like Tyson said, if you don't listen to yourself, you can't pick up on those annoying nuances that are actually really annoying, like next level annoying.
Yep.
So record yourself, practice it, have like someone come, friend of yours, whatever, record it, or if you're in a session or anything like that, I think that's really, really valuable. Or have someone shadow you, but even still, it's not the same as someone shadowing you as you listening to yourself. Over time, when I've done interviews and all the above, when we're doing this, all of it is good, because you can actually see what you say a lot and what you can work on to improve. Because yes, they are listening to you, but I think it would be better if you would listen to yourself and then reformulate it, because I think that even though they're doing what you want them to do, it could be better if it was said better or outlined better, ultimately.
Done. Thanks for watching.
Yep.
Dietitian Life.
Bye.